sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live on this Saturday morning with the WTP Sports Dudes, ready to talk about our top 15 Heisman Trophy candidates for 2026. We all know that we're going to leave some valuable players off of this list that we're not going to talk about, but listen, we know that they're great players anyway. I got my man One Take Zaya with me this morning. How you feeling, One Take Zaya?
I'm good, man. Hopefully we catch this rain and it cool down a little bit out here, man. It's been hotter than two and some fish grease out here.
You're right about that, man. I went out there, cut my lawn this morning, and brother, listen, I couldn't do the back. I could only do the front. We also got our man T1 of City League TV, somebody else, a man of many hats. What you feeling like this morning, my brother?
I'm feeling cool. I had an off day yesterday. So guess what I did? I just stayed in the house, so I ain't hopping in that fish grease that One Take talking about. So I just been in my delicacy, just sucking up this AC and just relaxing, man, because I don't get much time to relax. So I just been relaxing. But I'm about to have to go get out in this heat in just a hot second. So I'm gonna go get a little taste of it in a second, man. But I'm feeling great, man. Good to see my brothers this morning.
Yeah, good to see you as well. As we all know, there's a lot of really, really good football players in college football this season. We're going to tell you about 15 of our top 15 players in college football and where they might sit in terms of the Heisman Trophy. This is not in any particular order. It's just us talking about our top 15 players in the country. Even though you see a number beside their name, that doesn't mean that's where we rank them. We were just picking 15 guys that we wanted to talk about on this show today. And we're going to start with the first one on the docket, and it's John Mateer, quarterback out of Oklahoma. What's your thoughts on John Mateer and his possibility of his season this season, and where you think he might fit as it relates to the Heisman Trophy? We're going to start with you, One Take Zaya.
Brad was running hot at the beginning of the season before that hand injury. Um, so he seems like he's fully healthy. That's what's coming out of their program right now. They said he looking like his old self. The added addition of Livingstone, who came over from your boys, I think will be a much help for him because he was kind of depleted on targets last year. But man, I think he could. I think if he could stay healthy, I think he'd be in the thick of things. I low key kind of think this might be a little too low for Mateer at 15 coming in, knowing his name was right around that 3-4 area up until like the 6th or 7th week of college football season last year.
What's your thoughts on John Mateer, T1?
Yeah, but we got to remember that Rob said at the beginning that let's not pay attention to the numbers, because I would agree with you if we was paying attention to the number that this would be a little bit too low for Johnny Boy. But we're gonna stay true to what Rob said and not look at these numbers, because I know they might got my boy all jacked up on these numbers in here, but we know that it most likely is going to go to a quarterback. The chances of a player at a different position getting this award is slim. It's a possibility, but it's slim. It usually goes to a quarterback. The quarterbacks has the numbers. And, if Oklahoma has the team and he's able to produce those numbers, as One Take said, that he was able to produce earlier on in the season, he has a great chance to be in New York come Heisman time. So he's definitely a top 15 candidate for this award.
Yeah, we got about 7 or 8 guys at the quarterback position on this list. So that goes right in line with what you were saying about the fact that this is usually a quarterback's award, and every now and then maybe a wide receiver or a running back will get this award. But when you look at the quarterbacks that we have on our list, and we're going to talk about them, it really shows that the quarterback position is usually the position that's going to take home that Heisman Trophy. I really like John Mateer. I feel like if John Mateer hadn't suffered that injury to his thumb, he would have still been able to do all the things that he was doing up until that point. And he probably would have had a nicer game against Texas, which, really set him back again because they banged that thumb up a little bit more. And he didn't quite get right for the rest of that season. But I like John Mateer, the dual threat that he has. He's pretty accurate in his short game. Once he gets better at reading the defenses on the back end, I'm quite sure that long ball will come as well. And I think the addition of Parker Livingstone will really help him a lot too. A taller receiver that got some speed, that has a pretty decent route tree. I think that's going to help him as well. I feel like if they improve their run game, John Mateer is definitely going to be one of those names that we're going to hear mentioned throughout the season in terms of the Heisman Trophy. Next up, we want to talk about L.J. Martin, the running back out of BYU. We saw what he did last year. He may be the only Big 12 player on this list. L.J. Martin, running back out of BYU. What's your thoughts on him, T1?
Well, we know that running back position is going to be pretty tough to try to get up and then get a Heisman. Now, being in the Big 12, he can potentially make it to New York if he's able to put those numbers up. But then, of course, that if he is putting those numbers up, they're going to say that he's in the Big 12 and, it's not much defense over there. But if he puts the numbers up, he has a chance. He has a chance to get somewhere close within that top 4, maybe even top 5, and get a trip to New York. But with all these quarterbacks out here, I think it's going to be real hard for a running back to get a trip to New York unless, he's just lighting up the world, and he's going to have to be on one of those top 4, top 5 teams.
What's your thoughts, One Take?
Yeah, they got to feed L.J. Martin, man. I don't think they leaned on him enough last year. He had some real explosive guys. I remember when they played Cincy, he had over 200. So if they feed him, man, and which I think the problem with L.J. Martin this year that he's going to run into is that Bear Beckemeyer, he a year older. So they might lean on him a little more. I think that might hurt him in his Heisman race. But nevertheless, I think he is the best bet in the Big 12, hands down. But we got to see. I feel like if they give him his 20 touches a game, he can go for more than what he had last year. He had 1,300 last year. I think he can get more than that if they can get him his touches. But I don't know. I just don't see it. I just think Bear, he's ready for a step up and a tick up in the offense.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to our man Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10. He in the chat. Also, our man KT. He want to just say, give us a big shout out for continuing to stick with doing the shows. We appreciate you, KT, on that. Hopefully, you tune in when we do our Miami preview. We got a couple of guys that's going to come on and talk about those Miami Hurricanes, so I don't want you to miss that. Mossberg says, LJ is the real deal. Love this young man, and he's a raw talent. I feel like LJ Martin, to get in that picture, being in the Big 12 is going to be really, really tough for him. But I think if they use him more in the pass game than maybe they did last year, and then in the fourth quarter, if they're in close games in the fourth quarter, and he's the closeout guy, man, and he proves that he can close out games, and BYU can prove that they can close out games with the run game using LJ Martin, that could bode very well for with voters because they see a guy who can close out the game with his running ability. And we all know that you always got to have those moments where the team looks like they're on your back to close out some of these victories. And they don't play Texas Tech this year, but I think they're going to have some games on their schedule that will allow him to really showcase his talent. I really like LJ Martin, We got, I think, 4 other running backs on this list. I think he's right up there with all 4 of those guys, and he doesn't take a back seat to any of them. I really like him, and hopefully they can use him more in the pass game to really help him make a run at the Heisman Trophy. Let's bring our man Post Game of the Post Game Sports Podcast into the show. Post Game, how you feeling this morning?
Feeling good, brother. Thanks for having me. How y'all doing?
Solid.
We're doing awesome.
What it do, post game? Good to see you in the building, bro.
We talked about John Mateer a little second ago, and we want to get your take on John Mateer and where you think he will look, what you think his season will look like for him to be in that Heisman Trophy conversation. What's your thoughts on John Mateer?
Yeah, John Mateer is one of the dark horse candidates. We gotta think back to last season, fellas. He probably was the front runner before he had that injury. And one of the things I said, good morning, Level Up Sports 10. One of the things I said was, will he be the same after that injury? And he clearly wasn't. So, I mean, if he can remain healthy and pick up from where he was last season, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll definitely be a Heisman candidate. That offense is going to revolve around him. Can Oklahoma run the ball? That's a big question there as well. But I like John Mateer. I think he can be in contention. He just has to stay healthy.
Give us your thoughts on L.J. Martin and what he brings to the table at BYU at the running back position and this Heisman Trophy.
Yes, sir. L.J. Martin, to me, is a top 10 candidate in my own personal rankings, and I'll tell you why, Rob. This guy, their offense is tailored for him to have a humongous season. And when you look at L.J. Martin and the other top running backs who are in contention for the Heisman, he may not be the best, but his situation may be the best. You talk about a physical BYU team who wants to run the ball, and out of all the defenses that those top running backs face, L.J. Martin doesn't even play Texas Tech in the regular season, I believe. I have a hard time believing any of those Big 12 defenses are going to be able to slow him down. Now, they do play Notre Dame at home. That would be a big test for them. But I can see a humongous statistical season for L.J. Martin.
Yeah, I like that take on him. Let's go to our next player, and it's also a running back, Jaden Ball, the running back out of Florida. What's your thoughts on him? We're going to start with one take, Zaya. What's your thoughts on Jaden Ball and his possibility to make a run for the Heisman?
Jaden Ball is a monster, man. But I think he gonna fall into a case where his team is just not good enough. The last Heisman candidate that we really seen that actually won the Heisman and was able to do something without their team being one of the top teams in the country was Jaden Daniels, and that's a position that's super highlighted, as we know, at the quarterback position. I don't think a running back can pull off being on a team with maybe 4 or 5 losses and really get serious consideration for the Heisman. So I think he's going to get eliminated just from his team, whether or not he had 1,500 yards or not. I just don't see it. I don't think Florida is one of the upper echelon teams in the SEC this year. So I'm going to have to cross Jaden Ball out on this one.
What's your take, T1?
Yeah, I might have to roll with one take on this one, and just for the same reason. Well, not all the way the same reason, but it's just going to be hard for those running backs to get up in there. So I think as we go through this list, we're probably going to get to eliminating some running backs that's going to drop off of this list, because it's just not going to be that many running backs that will be able to get close enough to make a trip to New York. So yeah, he might have to get crossed off of here too.
Give us your thoughts post game.
Yeah, Jaden Ball is probably my personal favorite running back in the country going into the season. One taking T1 is right. How good is Florida? Because your team success matters when it comes to the or the Trophy. As one take just said, we really don't see uh, candidates from teams that aren't dominant in the win loss column make it to New York. But if they do find a way to have a successful season, I mean, Jaden Ball is awesome, man. You talk about a physical guy with good feet, good speed, and probably out of all the elite running backs, he might be the best receiving running back. So Jaden Ball, I agree. His candidacy depends on a lot on how good Florida is, because he's for sure a good player.
Yeah, I really like Jaden Ball. I thought when Texas got their running backs coach that he was going to hit the portal and come. And he thought about hitting the portal, but the coach ended up talking to him into staying at Florida, which was great for Ball. I think he should finish his career at Florida after playing 2 seasons there. There was no reason for him to go anywhere else. I really like Ball. I think he's a running back who is probably the most complete running back in the country, in my opinion. I feel like this is a guy that can run in between the tackles. He can run outside zone, and he can also catch the ball out the backfield. I think with them starting a new quarterback this season, him in the pass game is really going to have to help that young quarterback out this season. And I think they're probably going to use him in that way. The fact that he's on Florida, who has an easier schedule than what they had the last 2 years, but I still don't think they're going to be one of those teams that are going to have a good enough record for him to get invited to at the Heisman Trophy ceremony. But I think his stats will be good enough to get there. Just their record is just going to be just ain't going to get him there. And it reminds me of the time when Texas had Deontay Foreman and he rushed for over 2,000 yards and won the Doak Award, but he was nowhere near up there when it came in terms of the Heisman because Texas, I think, was like 5-7 or something ridiculous like that. So it's going to really take Florida to be around 9-3 or so in order for him to get an invite, in my opinion.
Hold up, Rob, real quick. You said Texas record was what?
Man, go ahead, man. It was 5-7.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, I just wanted to hear that again. We
I
don't know
know,
what
man.
that looked like up north.
Y'all do not know what that looks like. Well, y'all went 6-6 one year.
Yeah, 500.
Let's talk about Gunnar Stockton. I think Gunnar Stockton is one of those players that might be flying up under the radar. He's not really mentioned a whole lot when you start talking about the top quarterbacks in the country. He's the quarterback at Georgia in his second season. He did pretty decent at the Manning Passing Academy. What do y'all think about Gunnar Stockton? We're going to start with you post game.
Yeah, Rob, I think Gunnar Stockton is a live dog. He's an underdog for the Heisman, but I think he's a live dog. I mean, you talk about a quarterback who can make plays with his legs as well as his arm. And the key for me, when you talk about Gunnar Stockton in his Heisman case, because we know Georgia is going to be one of the top teams in the SEC and in the country, is the passing game. How good is that receiving core going to be for Georgia? And are they going to be in situations where they have to pass the ball in the SEC? I believe they will. Isaiah Canyon coming over from Georgia Tech. I'm really high on this guy, Rob. I'm talking about a 6'4", 205 receiver who can make plays down the field. So I think Gunnar Stockton is a live dog. I think he'll definitely be one of the guys in the top 10 that we're looking at for the Heisman at the end of the season.
What's your thoughts on Gunnar Stockton?
Man, there's so many good football players across the country, man. We could have made a list of 30 guys probably. But as far as Stockton, I love Gunnar Stockton. He's a blue chip collar quarterback to me. Just ooze toughness out of him. Now it's tricky because Georgia is one of the few teams I do think got a chance to go undefeated throughout the year. So to have an undefeated team, and when you talking about New York and who's representing their team or program in New York, if an undefeated team is there, you would think that it's going to be one of those guys from that team that will be representing. But this is a fine case of, I think it's one ball, and I think it's not enough ball to go around. I think Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens will take a lot of stats away from Gunnar Stockton. I think that run game is going to be outstanding. I just don't think he's going to have the stat line to really get there. But I think if they do go undefeated, he's going to be probably the main reason why they did.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on Gunnar Stockton, T1?
Definitely a possibility. As we know, he has the team. He just gonna need the records and the stats. And as big as the records get, and as low as that loss column stays, he has a great chance of being in the conversation throughout the season.
Yeah, I really like Gunnar Stockton as well. I think he's a really tough quarterback. He's a quarterback who I think this year they might use his legs a little bit more than what they did last year, and even the few games he played at the back end of their season 2 years ago. I feel like if he can have one of those games like he had against Alabama last year, no man, it might have been Tennessee, where he was able to throw the ball down the field when they were in a dogfight with Tennessee in terms of going back and forth. If Gunnar Stockton can get that part of his game going, and they had the receivers to be able to do that, it's really going to help him a great deal. I think they're going to have a record to be able to have a guy there. But the fact that we know that they got some other players around him, especially at that running back position, that's going to take some of the thunder away from Gunnar Stockton, is going to make it a little bit more tough for him to get there. But if he can complete those balls down the field, use his tight ends when he need to, and make that thing happen, and had the stats, he probably going to have to throw for over 28, 29, 30 touchdowns, over 3,000 yards passing, which is probably going to be tough for a Georgia quarterback because they run so much. Otherwise, I think he can be there, but I really like Gunnar Stockton. Let's talk about Ahmad Hardy, the running back out of Missouri. Another running back that we feel like is really, really good, that's going to carry his team and have a possible chance of making it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. We're going to start with you, T1, with Ahmad Hardy, running back out of Missouri. What's your thoughts on him as a possible Heisman Trophy candidate?
Coming off a pretty good season, playing in that tough SEC. So they're gonna be keying in a little bit more on him this year, which if he's able to produce at an even higher level than he did last year, but I don't think he's gonna get a shot. I don't think that his team is gonna allow him to stay within that conversation. So we're gonna see, but can it be a surprise team in the SEC? That's something we may have to look at, but I kind of seriously doubt it, and so I seriously doubt that he's gonna be able to be in New York or even be. Well, he can possibly make it in the top 10. I give him that. He has what it takes to possibly get in the top 10, like almost on his own. Not really on his own, but at that running back position, you're pretty much on your own when you get to talking about positioning yourself for this Heisman. You're gonna have to put in some work regardless of the way your line is blocking it and your record. So I don't think he's gonna make it in the top 10 as the season goes on, but if he's tearing up the SEC, it's a possibility.
What's your thoughts on that one take?
Yeah, can Ahmad Hardy duplicate or surpass what he did last year? He was first in power four running backs rushing yards. You know, I think the key to him and him having some of the same production is going to be how does Austin Simmons in that pass game look? Because like T1 said, he gonna need somebody to loosen some things up because they're gonna be keyed in on him. Um, that's what we got to look at when it comes to Ahmad Hardy, because everybody know what he is now. You slow him down, you probably got a good chance to win, because that was their main source of production last year on offense. So I want to see what Austin Simmons, the transfer from Ole Miss, can get done in that passing game. But I think Ahmad Hardy should be right up there. Because I think he can duplicate some of the production that he had last year. I don't think he quite get to 1,600 or wherever he was last year, but I think he'll be right around that same production.
What's your thoughts, post game?
Yeah, the thing the fella said it. The thing about Ahmad Hardy in his case for the Heisman Trophy is going to be how good is Missouri. Now, I'm not a believer in Missouri as a team. I don't think they can really compete for the SEC title. But Ahmad Hardy as an individual, you talking about a guy who was fourth in carries, second in yards, tied fourth for rushing touchdowns. The key for Ahmad Hardy next season is going to be his receiving work. Can he get involved in that receiving game? He only has 6 receptions last year. Uh, Probably the best pure runner amongst the elite running backs, but probably the worst pass catcher. So it's going to depend a lot on that gunshot wound and if it's healed and if it doesn't slow him down this season and the success of Missouri as a team. But I like Ahmad Hardy.
Yeah, I like Ahmad Hardy as well. I feel like if he can come back 100% from that gunshot wound, he has an opportunity to really make an impact on this Missouri team and have them in every game as long as their defense doesn't get worn out. They can't afford to go three and out. And I think Ahmad Hardy can help them with that. I agree with you, post game. They have to use him in the pass game a whole lot more than what they did last year. For all of these running backs, that's one of the biggest keys for them to make a run at the Heisman. They have to catch the ball out of the backfield. And I think that it will help their offense and help their quarterback a lot more if they can get the ball to their running back in some kind of form or fashion in the pass game so that it can open up things for them. And I think Ahmad Hardy is probably the best pure runner out of the ones that we got on our list. And I feel like if he can come back 100% healthy from that gunshot wound and Missouri can play good, solid defense and be able to run the ball with him, because he can run inside zone, outside zone as well, that he can be one of those players. I just don't think Missouri's record is going to be there. I think playing in the SEC is going to be tough because a lot of teams are going to key on stopping him, and it's going to take a monumental effort from him. But I do believe he's one of the best players in the country, and if he can make some things happen and they can win some key games, he could possibly be there at the end of the season. Let's talk about Trinidad Chambliss, quarterback out of Mississippi. What's your thoughts on him and his chance to make it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony? And we're going to start off with you post game.
Yeah, I mean Trinidad Chambliss is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I thought he would have been a little higher on our list, but it is what it is. Maybe the fact that he's losing those great offensive minds knocks him down a little bit. But that's not the end all tell all. This dude is a baller. I mean, he's versatile. He can hurt you in the pocket. He can get outside the pocket. He can make plays downfield with his legs. I'm really interested to see this Mississippi team, man, because like I said, uh, no Charlie Weiss Jr. They lose their head coach to LSU and Lane Kiffin. I want to see if that has any effect on that offensive team at all. And if it doesn't, he's going to have a magnificent statistical season down in the SEC.
What's your thoughts on Trinidad Chambliss one take?
Man, I thought he should have went pro, honestly. But we're gonna see him again in college football. I think this is another case of, we're gonna get to the name, but he's gonna be fighting another candidate on his team. So I think you lose a little, aura in the Heisman race when you got another guy that I feel like is going to be pretty much up there. I definitely think he's going to have a top 10 finish. It's just about, do we make it to New York or not? Is it four? Do we make it in that top 4 or 5 guys? And I just don't see it just because of him fighting another candidate on his team.
What's your thoughts, T1?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with one take, but we got to remember post game wasn't in here at the beginning. The list isn't where we got the players ranked at. It's just a list out there. So they come in at 10. That ain't where we putting them. They could actually fall anywhere. But yeah, Trinidad, he all right, but the quarterback position is real deep. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be kind of hard for him. But if that record is up there, we know he is like he was like one of the best quarterbacks in college football last year. So if he's able to keep that record squeaky clean at the beginning as they was able to do last year, I mean, he has a great opportunity of making it to New York, but I don't see them duplicating what they did last year. Any of y'all see that?
I do think Ole Miss can make a playoff appearance again this year. I'm one that, I don't think. I think Charlie Weiss is a blow, of course, because he's a hell of a mind on the offensive end. But I think keeping Pete Golding and keeping really your culture together is much more important. I think he's a Mississippi guy. I think he knows who to hire. I think they hired the guy from East Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. I think they got the perfect guy for real. So I don't think they're gonna be hurt as much. And then you got an experienced quarterback as well. That's always gonna ease the pain.
Yeah, I think Mississippi is going to be a really good football team in the SEC. I don't think that they're going to make the college football playoffs, though, unless the SEC gets 4 or 5 teams in there. That's the only way I think they're going to make it, because I think they're going to finish around 4 or 5 in this conference. Um, but I really like Trinidad Chambers. When you look at all the players on the list that we developed, he's that one player who is probably going to have the most acrobatic plays that are going to be called Heisman moments, because he's got ability to avoid the pass rush and make some throws down the field, or to make some of those plays that make you just go like, oh my God, he was able to pull that off. And he's going to be the quarterback or the player that does that probably more than any other player on our list. I really like Trinidad Chambers' chances. I think that he probably should have went to the NFL last year. When you look at the number of quarterbacks that got drafted, he would have put himself in a really good position. Now he has to face all these other quarterbacks who are probably going to be coming out again this year, and that probably will put him in a different category because there's a lot of really good quarterbacks coming out at the end of this season. So last season, I agree with you, One Take. He probably should have went to the NFL. I think his value was high enough, probably higher than it's ever going to be, and he probably should have went. But I really like Trinidad Chambers and the fact that he's going to be able to make a whole lot of plays that's going to wow a lot of people.
Let me ask you a question, Rob, because
Yeah.
I actually think he should have came back, because if you look at his NFL projections, he was projected second to third round. He has a chance to sneak into that first round of the NFL draft. But here's my question: off the top of your head, how many? What SE? You said 4 or 5 SEC teams, right? Off the top of your head, what 4 teams make it?
I'm looking at Texas, Georgia, Texas A&M, and LSU.
So Alabama takes a back seat this year.
They take a back seat again.
Gotcha. Got you.
Well, not again because they made it last year. Yeah. Let's talk about Malachi Tony, wide receiver out of Miami. And we're going to start with you, one take, Zaya. What's your thoughts on Malachi Tony, the wide receiver from Miami?
Yeah, so I think this might be the best offense in the country. Um, we still got Darian Mensah coming up. But again, this is another case of he's going to be fighting another candidate on his team. I think he have a stack. I think Cooper Burkett might even have a stack. But I think they're going to have three guys with 1,000 yards from scrimmage, and with Mark Fletcher as well. So, what I mean, I just don't see one of their main position group guys making it to New York. Now, finishing in the top 10, 15 or so, Heisman, that's very possible. But I think you got to give it to the head of the snake on who's going to lead in Heisman voting. And I guess this is pretty much a decent position for Malachi Tony if this was, how we would look at it at the end of the year of college football season. 9 seems like a realistic number for Malachi Tony.
What's your thoughts, post game?
Yeah, I mean, Malachi Tony, here's a kid who led the country in receptions last year. He had he had the most receptions last year. I do expect that number to go down a little bit, just seeing as though they got Cooper Burkett and he has a really, really good playing relationship with Darian Mensah. I think his reception totals are going to go down a little bit. Or he's such a special talent, Rob, that it could go up. We just don't know. But I expect Burkett to eat into his production a little bit. Like I said, he has a really good relationship with Mensah. I look for that Miami team to definitely be, if not the best offense in the country, definitely top 3. But Malachi Tony could either blow the doors off this race, or he could take a back seat and not duplicate that production he had last season.
What's your thoughts on Malachi Tony, T1?
I like him. And I don't think he's going to be taking the back seat to nobody. I think he's going to continue building off of what he did last year, regardless of who else is on that team. I think they're going to feed him the ball because he's just a little too dynamic to say that we're not going to get the ball into his dynamic hands as much as we can. So I can definitely see him in New York. And I think he's one of the most watchable, dynamic players coming back in college football.
Yeah, man, I really like Malachi Tony. I feel like, did you go one take?
Yeah, I went.
Okay. I really like Malachi Tony, and I hear what everybody is saying in terms of having Mensah on there, and Mensah being on our list, and having 2 guys on this list. We're probably going to take away some of your thunder, along with the weapons that he got around him. He got Fletcher on that team. But I feel like this, man, Malachi Tony is going to have those opportunities because he has so many other weapons around him that when he does get the ball in his hands, he's going to be a home run hitter. Plus, he's going to run back punts possibly, maybe even kickoffs. With those 2 added dimensions, with him and a Heisman running, it's going to be really, really exciting to watch, man, because I think anytime he gets the ball in his hand, he can take it to the house. And when you see a guy like that taking the ball to the house on screens, maybe on a punt, maybe on a kickoff, it really adds to the excitement for Heisman voters. And I think he has a really good chance of being there because of all the talent that he has around him. But I really like Malachi Tony. I think he's going to have a fantastic year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I just want to add, Malachi Tony is a guy who is not only a pure receiver, but they get the ball in his hands in so many different ways. Will they continue to do that? Because they've added another great wide receiver in Cooper Burkett. I'm not saying he's going to take a back seat to him, I'm just saying, sometimes it's a lot of mouths to feed, but they do find different ways to get the ball in his hand, and he can take the ball to the house at any place on the field.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm anxious to see that Miami team get out there because I agree with you one take. I think they might be the best offensive team in the country. I really do believe they might be the best. Let's look at our next player on our list. Let's look at, oh, let me see if I can get it. There you go. Leonard Moore, which we all feel like Leonard Moore, cornerback out of Notre Dame, is one of the best players in college football. He's the only defensive guy that we got on this list. Let's talk about Leonard Moore. We're going to start with you, T1. How do you feel about Leonard Moore and his chances of making it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony? A player who does not run back kicks or doesn't play any offensive plays. Do you feel like a cornerback can have enough production, a player like Leonard Moore, to make it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony?
So we have, for one, we have just way too many quarterbacks. And then we are going to have at least one running back slip up in there and make it to New York. So I don't see in no way possible how we're going to get a defensive player in New York. You really have to be dynamic, and you really have to be a game changer, and you just have to be on a whole another level where they already know you're about to be the number one pick coming up and all of that. And I don't know if it could be done from that cornerback position.
What's your thoughts, one take?
Yeah, Jim Thorpe Award, probably favorite. He might sweep all them awards for real. The Bernard and what's the other one? The Nagurski. He might sweep all them. But nah, not Heisman. Just because of you need some type of like scoring production somehow, some way, man. But they need to create a secondary trophy. We got the offensive line. I think we got some unit trophies. They need to create a trophy for all the units because this Notre Dame secondary is gonna be monster. I was trying to say this on the show the other day, but my phone, my connection kept on acting up. McKinney, Christian Gray, and Leonard Moore, it's gonna be a no-fly zone over there.
Okay. Post game, tell us what Leonard Moore brings to the table for this Notre Dame team. I think we all feel like he probably can't make it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony because he's a cornerback and he doesn't do anything offensively and he doesn't run back punts. But tell us about Leonard Moore, the player, and what he's going to bring to Notre Dame this season.
Sure, man. He brings leadership, first of all, to that secondary. I mean, one takes eight named out the corners with Christian Moore, DJ McKinney, and Leonard Moore himself. He's a tall, rangy, fast corner with a high IQ who can make plays. Now, when we talk about the Heisman, I agree with the fellas. Is the way Notre Dame, if Notre Dame used them somewhat like some of the corners of the past, like the corner from Colorado, his name escapes me right now, but Travis Hunter. If they used him like Travis Hunter, at least in the punt or kick return category, then I'm all in. But he's just a shutdown corner, man. And the beautiful thing about him is he can travel with your team's best receiver. We seen that last year with Malik or Makai Lemon in the USC game. So I mean, he's a guy. I don't know how many opportunities he'll have to make plays because I think a lot of quarterbacks are shy away from his side of the field. But definitely, he's going to be a top 10 pick, maybe even 5 in the NFL draft. Just a mutant at the cornerback position.
All right. Let's talk about Keywan Lacey, the running back out of Mississippi. We talked about Trinidad Chambliss earlier. Let's talk about Keywan Lacey, and we're going to start with you, one take. How do you feel about Keywan Lacey and his chances of making it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony?
Yeah, I got Keywan Lacey in New York. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think uh, you know, with the coaching switch and all that, they gonna have to lean on the run game earlier on in the regular season until that passing game can get all the way hashed out. Because I'm pretty sure that new coach is putting his own new wrinkles in. But the running game is always supposed to be ahead of the passing game, damn nearly. But I think they got new pieces on that offensive line as well, so we'll see how that go. But he one of the most explosive dudes in college football, hands down.
What's your thoughts on Keywan Lacey post game?
Man, just a dynamic talent at the running back position. He led the country in carries last season, Rob. I really want to see if he's going to duplicate that. Um, it all for me, it all depends on how good that Mississippi defense is going to be. Because if that's a stout unit in the SEC, then he's going to get plenty of carries to show off that magnificent talent he has at the running back position. So I like Keywan Lacey. I would not be surprised if he's in New York at all.
What's your thoughts on Keywan Lacey, running back out of Mississippi, T1?
Uh, Great opportunity to make it to New York. As I said, it's going to be a fight within itself with the running backs to see which one makes it to New York, because we know it's only going to be one running back to make it to New York, if any. But I believe that one is going to get there, and but I don't know. It's like I said once again. They calling this one of the deepest quarterback classes ever. And then when you throw the few dynamic wide receivers that's out there, I just see it being really, really hard for a running back to get to New York. It's just not enough. It's not enough spaces, and you're going to have to. You may have to get close to 2,000. You're going to have to do some put in some gentry type work, for that to happen. I just think it's going to be really, really hard for a running back to get there.
I really like Keywan Lacey. I think out of all of these running backs that we talked about, he may be the most complete in terms of the fact that offensively they're going to make sure he gets carries, he going to get catches out the backfield. They're going to use him in every way and fashion you're supposed to use a running back in their offensive scheme, because he's so dynamic that way, and he's a home run hitter. I feel like Keywan Lacey has the best chance out of all of these running backs to make it, because I think they're going to have a record to be able to do it, and I feel like he's going to have the stats to be able to do it. I really like Keywan Lacey. They're going to have to lean on him a lot this year because of what they lost in terms of their coordinators and their head coach. I think offensively, he's going to be the key piece for them. And if he can do the things that we saw him do last year, and the wide receivers and the tight end can take a little bit off of his plate enough to where teams can't just load up the box and key on him, he could actually be one of those running backs that can make it, because I think he's going to be able to put up the stats this upcoming season. I really like Keywan Lacey. I think out of any of those running backs, he has the best chance of making it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. But T1, you might be right. It's just way too many quarterbacks and enough dynamic wide receivers that are going to be making plays that running backs just might get left out this year. Let's talk about Julian Sain, quarterback from Ohio State. We're going to start with post game. How do you feel about Julian Sain and his chances to make it back to New York at the end of this upcoming season and be one of those Heisman Trophy candidates on the panel last year, which a lot of people probably feel like he probably should have won it over the person who did win it. What's your thoughts on Julian Sain?
I mean, I like Julian Sain, man. I think the advantage he has over the other quarterbacks is that he has Jeremiah Smith. They do not. Chris Henry Jr., I think he's going to be a massive weapon for Julian Sain this season. But with the changing of offensive coordinators, I could really see Ohio State really even more leaning on the run game this season. So it's going to be interesting to see how that sets that offensive system up. Is he going? They going to lean on the run, and then that opens up the play action, and I can see Jeremiah Smith just having the out of this world season as well as Chris Henry Jr. I think he's a specimen. I've always said that. I think he's going to be a monster at Ohio State. And what's new? That's like wide receiver you. But I like Julian saying, man, and I think he's going to be even more accurate this season with the offensive scheme that they brought to Ohio.
Let's go to you one take, and then we're going to finish with T1. Then we want to go to Liam's question for our two Ohio State guys, and I want to get y'all's thoughts on Liam's questions. But tell us about Julian saying one take, Zaya, and his possibility of making it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony for a second year in a row.
Yeah, y'all know I've said a lot of things about Julian saying and not being the biggest fan, but I think I kind of been too hard on him, understanding that he was a red shirt freshman last year, So I'm gonna give him a chance to grow. But one thing I do know is towards the end of that season last year, when Jeremiah was banged up a little bit, Carnell Tate sat out a couple games. I didn't see the same quarterback. So that means he was more of a product to me for the receiver that the receivers was giving him. You know what I'm saying? So me seeing him finish where he finished last year, I felt like we would have beat Indiana in the Big Ten championship. He absolutely would have won the Heisman. I thought they was going to give it to whoever won that game, and Indiana ended up winning that game. But I don't think he's the quarterback that he is without Jeremiah Smith. I think Jeremiah Smith is the reason why he had those stats. Him and Carnell Tate. Them are the two main reasons of what we seen from him. And I really don't like to talk down on the kid. I just think he's a deer in the headlight and he don't ooze toughness to me. And that's just me. So 6, that's about where I seen him at, if that was the actual board that we had.
T1, what's your thoughts on Julian saying? Then I want to ask you other questions Liam got on the board.
I love one take's honesty on Julian. I love it because that's actually what was out there on the field last year. And one thing we have to remember is that was his first year as a starter. And I may have to say and go on record and say that may have been one of the best first starting year quarterbacks in the history of college football. So with that being said, look at where he's at. He's at The Ohio State University, where we do work on developing quarterbacks. So now one take. He's going to take that step next year. That toughness that you didn't see last year, they've shown him. They've watched the game field. He understands and knows that in probably every single game there was maybe about 2 or 3 plays where he could have took off and picked up first down. So that's going to get implemented into the offense this year. You will see saying running and picking up first downs this year, to where he was sitting in that pocket and waiting on them receiver routes to develop, and he'd go ahead and drop that dime. So what you're going to see a little bit more of Julian doing is getting out that pocket when he sees it's not there, picking up his 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards and going off to the next play. So I expect Julian to be even better than he was last year. Now, I'm not so sure that he can have a better completion percentage, but one thing that we do know is he's very accurate with that ball. So once he adds his feet to this game, which is the one thing that has been helping Ohio State be dominant at that quarterback position, a quarterback who will take off and pick up that first down when needed. If he can do that this year, everybody better watch out for this offense. And when you get to talking about the best and most powerful offense in college football this upcoming season, it's all going to depend on Sang and his leg. We already know what his arm can do.
Yeah, let me ask y'all this from Liam. He said Ohio State has an incredible schedule this season. If Ohio State goes undefeated, Julian Sang must have a great season. and what has the wonder what the impact is going to be of y'all losing Heartline. Speak to those two things. We're going to start with UT1. How do you feel about the schedule that y'all have, and how good is Julian Saint going to have to play in order for y'all to navigate that schedule? And what kind of impact do you think losing Heartline will have? We're going to start with UT1.
My fault, I was on mute. I'm looking forward to the schedule, man. It's a great challenge for our university. You know, year after year after year, what do you hear about Ohio State? Oh, their schedule. Their schedule. They ain't playing nobody. This is a great opportunity for Ohio State to continue being Ohio State, regardless of who we play. So I'm loving the schedule. I'm loving it. I'm feeling like we're gonna just continue doing what Ohio State does. And you know, we're gonna start it off in that Texas game, and that Texas game is gonna tell everything just like it did last year. And like I said, man, I'm just looking forward to Julian using his legs and helping that offense out, because I feel the defense is still going to be dynamic and top notch. So, man, I'm looking forward to it, and I have no problem with the schedule. I think we're going to do the same thing, and now we're going to be able to say, you know, who are you talking about? We don't play nobody, as we've done in the past.
What's your thoughts on that one take, Zay?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be undefeated this year. But we 10-2, 11-1, 12-0 every year. This is just what we do. It's in our blood, man. So it's just about what games do we show up for, what games do we kind of come in unfocused. How do we fix things week by week? Julian saying though, listen, I'm hoping the kid take a step forward, because I need the kid to ball out good enough to where we push him out and he go to the NFL draft, because I want to see Tavian the following year. I don't want to see Tavian hit the portal. So, and I think if Julian come back for his senior year, Tavian gonna hit the portal. So, that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, what do y'all think about losing Heartline? Do y'all think that's going to have an impact on y'all's wide receiver room?
My fault. I forgot about that part. Absolutely not, man. It's one thing about Ohio State, and I don't care if it's a coach, if it's a position player, if it's the quarterback, if it's the running back, if it's a wide receiver. We're going to continue doing what Ohio State does, because this is a program and a product that is like a breakaway train. It's just going to keep on rolling. And not to mention, we brought in a quarterback coach from LSU who is one of the great quarterback coaches. So we absolutely do not take a step back. We know the standard in that wide receiver room. That coach comes in with the same standards, and it will not drop off, not one bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's the program. It's not a particular person. Jameer Brown coming in next year, that was definitely a hardline recruit. We got to give him that. But Cortez Hankton came in and built his relationship with Jet Harrison, and Jet just committed about a week ago. So that's going under Hankton's name. In 2028, we got another kid that already committed, who's a 6'5" receiver already, as a freshman going into his sophomore year in high school, who everybody around the country is thinking he's going to be a 5-star kid by the time the final rankings come out for his senior class. So it's always rolling at Ohio State. It's the program, bro. Nobody bigger than the program.
I if I can chime in, I actually think that having Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator is going to benefit that Ohio State offense. You talk about a guy who runs a lot of 11 and 12 personnel, really emphasizes the tight end position, wants to be physical and running the ball. I think that's going to do wonders for Julian Sayin.
Yeah, that's the offense we ran last year, and the tight ends didn't do good. So, I mean, I'm optimistic on that. We did the whole three tight end set thing last year, and they couldn't figure out their blocking assignments. So we'll see how that works.
I mean, yeah, but Arthur Smith is a guy who comes from the NFL. I think he's going to be a little bit different than Hartline. I think where he emphasizes the misdirection, the runs off tackle, and things of that nature. I think it'd be a little bit different, but I think it's better for Sam. I really do.
I agree with you post game. I agree that that's going to also make a difference, and we're going to have these little small differences between last year and this year, which I feel like is going to take us to a whole nother level. And Arthur Smith is definitely one of them.
All right, all right. Let's talk about Darian Mensah, quarterback out of Miami, the transfer from Duke. Let's start with you with him post game. And what do you think about Darian Mensah and what he's going to bring to Notre Dame and his possibility of making it to New York?
Yeah, I mean, I like Darian Mensah. I definitely think at the end of the season, we definitely could see him at the Heisman ceremony. Here's a guy who really played well at Duke, and then you talk about you move him to Miami. Regardless of how he went to Miami, he's in Miami. And then you have a guy like Malachi Tony. They bring in Cooper Barkay. They already got some other receivers at Miami. I think he's going to be dynamic. I think their offense is going to be better than last year. And I think Miami is going to once again be one of the elite teams in college football. Now, that offensive line lost a lot, but Mario Cristobal is known for offensive line play. But I don't think that'd be too much of an issue. So I think with the weapons he has, his accuracy, his ability to make plays with his legs, I think Darian Mensah is definitely going to be one of the favorites to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy.
What's your thoughts on him, T1? Or T1 without, who was it? Oh, one take. What's your thoughts on him?
All right, listen. Over 3,900 last year, 34 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. You cannot tell me if he didn't play for a premier program, he wouldn't have been in New York. Now he had a premier program. He's going to be nationally televised each and every week. That guy is going to be in New York.
Yeah, I feel like Darian Mensah is that one player that we got on this list that he has a really, really good opportunity, man, to really showcase who he is. He's inside the same conference that he put those 3,900 yards in. I think he's at a team now that, like you said, one take Zaya, a premier program with weapons galore. He's going to have an opportunity, man, to really blow this thing wide open from start to finish. They got enough games on their schedule where he's going to have his Heisman moments. And I feel like if he can go out there and play well, now he's going to be one of those players that's going to be up under the microscope because of how he got to Miami and because of the weapons that he has. They're going to expect big things out of him, and he might get judged a little bit more harshly than some of these other players that we're talking about. But I think with the weapons around him, he can really do wonders, man. I really like Darian Mensah. I think he really went to a place that he felt like he could really improve his stock. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season with those weapons he has. I like him, and he could be probably the top 3 on our list in terms of players being there in New York. I really like Darian Mensah. Let's talk about C.J. Carr, quarterback out of Notre Dame, who they say shined at the Manning Passing Academy. I mean, the people who said that he shined are credible people. So we can't deny that this guy is going to be awesome this season. One take, Zaya, what's your thoughts on C.J. Carr and his chance of making it to New York at the Heisman Trophy ceremony?
Yeah. Now, what when you put this list together, did you average out all our lists?
I did not. I just took 15 dudes and I said,
Okay.
what order would we like to talk about them? And that's the
Okay.
order.
Okay. I got you. Yeah. So to me, CJ Carr has to be the favorite to win the Heisman. I think the schedule is built for it. I think the stat lines will be there, and I think they if they got one loss or I mean, I don't think they have blemishes on their record unless it's one loss. I think the setup is perfect for him to win the Heisman, and I could easily see him throwing for 4 racks, 38 touchdowns and 5 picks. So, I mean, if it was a list, like he will be my number one guy heading into the season.
Yeah, I really like him. We're gonna let you go last on this one post game. I really like CJ Carr, and I think in another year in the system, I think his wide receivers will play better. He'll have more on his plate because he's in his second season in that system, and the fact that he doesn't have those running backs that he had last year, even though they're gonna have some really good running backs, I don't think he has to worry about. Um, that aspect of it, always having to turn and hand it off. He's going to be able to do some other things that he wants to be able to do. And I think he's going to have an opportunity to really shine. I think his wide receivers will be able to help him out a lot. Because they had the great running backs, we really didn't get to see those wide receivers in the light that we need to see them. But this year, I think they're going to put way more on CJ Carr's plate. I think he's going to step up to the challenge and have a really, really good season. And I feel like like you said, one take Zaya, he has an opportunity to be the number one guy throughout this whole entire season when it comes to this Heisman Trophy candidacy. What's your thoughts on CJ Carr, quarterback out of Notre Dame, T1?
All right, my mute button be sticking. Man. As I guess I'm just repeating myself from for this whole podcast. This is a very deep quarterback class. So, man, this is really one of those wait and sees, man. Like we really gonna have to just wait and see what these quarterbacks do when they actually hit the field. It could be somebody could come out of nowhere. You know, I don't believe anybody had Mendoza in as a Heisman favorite at the very beginning of the season or anything. So, or even going to New York, if I'm not mistaken. So I could easily see somebody that, we're counting out getting to New York if they have that type of season. And it's just too many quarterbacks. So I'm going to go ahead and say, guess what? He has just as good a chance as anyone else. If he can put those numbers up, keep his team undefeated, he's definitely in New York. So, yeah, we're going to have to see. He has a great chance. Every quarterback on this list has a chance to be in New York if they can keep their teams undefeated going into week 11.
All right, post game, it's on you. It's your boy, CJ Carr. What's your thoughts on him, and what is he going to need to do to solidify himself as a candidate in New York at the end of the season?
Well, I mean, CJ Carr is going to be a dude. And I think you saw that last year in his first year starting. I think the most important thing for CJ Carr was for him to continue to develop and get better and learn from his freshman year mistakes. But it's no secret that Notre Dame plans on passing the ball more than they've had in recent years. You think about Marcus Freeman going to recruit personally himself, Quincy Porter and Miles Brown, Jordan Faison, Jaden Grayhouse needs to be healthy, but he has a plethora of receivers who can get the job done, and some guys who we expect to really break out this season. Even at the tight end position, I know we got the Flanagans, and they are good footballs, but I really want to see this freshman tight end, Ian Primer, and from what I've heard, he has all the skills to pay the bills, and that was a really elite get for Notre Dame at the tight end position. But another reason why CJ Carr is going to be fantastic in the passing game is going to be Aeneas Williams. This is a running back who lines up out wide, and you couldn't tell the difference unless you knew what you were looking at. I mean, he looks like a wide receiver. Uh, Add that to the fact that he went to the Manning Academy and they had him showing everybody how to run drills. I think that's really encouraging for Notre Dame fans, and I think CJ Carr definitely would be a Heisman candidate.
All right, let's go to our next player on the board. Oh shoot, we got one of them Texas dudes. We got Arch Manning, quarterback out of Texas. We're gonna start with you post game, and we're going to let you talk about what you think Arch Manning brings to the game and his chances of making it to New York.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most criticized quarterback last season. He came into the season with a lot of hype. I thought he was going to do really well, and then at the latter part of the season, he did do really well. I think it was a lot of heavy expectations on him. He might have been overthinking a lot, but I think as the season progressed, he kind of calmed down and stopped thinking so much, and he really turned into the quarterback we were all expecting to see. So I think with the addition of Cam Coleman to go with Ryan Wingle, those running backs they got in the portal with Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown, I think Arch Manning is set up to have a really good statistical season. And if Texas is as good as we think, and they're able to be successful in the SEC, and more so with his legs, I think Arch Manning is going to make a lot of plays with his legs and rushing the ball. I think Arch Manning definitely is a favorite to win the Heisman.
We're gonna go to you one take.
Yeah, so Rob, you spoke about last summer Arch not really having all the time that he needed to really form a camaraderie and a connection with those receivers. So maybe it took a little longer than it was supposed to coming into the season last year. Um, and he got all the time in the world this year. But I still think his production is going to come down to what that offensive line look like. Um, and I'm torn between Texas because they got a floor of where I could see them going 8-4, but then they got a ceiling of going 12-0 in my opinion. So like which one, where do they lie at? Because I think for him to be in New York is definitely going the Texas and their schedule and how they turn out, or whether they 10-2 or 11-1 or 8-4, that's going to play the big role in whether or not he make it to New York or not, because you need the results on the field. Um, and that's all it depends on me. I think he'll get the stats this year. Uh, we see if he can, not turn the ball over and if he cleaned up some of the mechanics. But he got the weapons now. I just need the offensive line to protect him, bro, because I think he could do some things. After I seen him in that bowl game say, I'm just not going to give up, bleed, I was like, man, I'm starting to like this kid every day more and more. So I'm a Arch Manning fan, though. I'm rooting for the kid.
What's your take on Arch Manning, T1?
Yeah, I mean, is it his year? Is it his time? He's had all the publicity. He's been put in a position to be a front runner. And I mean, just as I've been saying with all of the quarterbacks, he's gonna have to put it up and put it on. I mean, and as one take said, he has a ceiling that can put him right there in New York, and then there's a floor that can have him watching and people asking if he's a disappointment for what he was supposed to come in and do at the University of Texas. So um, this is a coin toss, and just like all the other quarterbacks, we're gonna have to see what he do out there. And in week 2, he's gonna have a perfect opportunity to revenge that loss with Ohio State last year at home and put himself in a great position to catapult him into staying as that runner if they can beat Ohio State in week 2.
Yeah, I really like Arch Manning, man, and what I think he's going to be able to do this season. The thing that kind of concerns me about him being able to make it to New York is that the schedule that Texas has, and it's the same for Julian Saint as well. I think both of those quarterbacks, they're going to play some schedules to where if they play well, they increase their chances of making it to New York. But at the same time, if they don't play so well, it's going to be a knock on them as a quarterback. And they have a lot of opportunities to increase their chances, but at the same time, they got a lot of opportunity to decrease their chances because if they don't play well, because they play some really, really tough teams in some really, really tough environments. They got a chance to prove it, and they got a chance to really hurt themselves. I feel like Arch Manning has the weapons around him, but like one take Zaya said, it comes down to that offensive line. I think last year he realized his offensive line wasn't as good in the second half of the season, even though they got better. And he started understanding I got to slide this way a little bit more, that way a little bit more, just depending on where this pressure might come from, so I can still get the ball off. I think mechanically he's going to have to improve on being able to throw that long crossing route where that guy is coming full speed. He got to be able to make those throws, man. A lot of times he was missing guys behind him, and they were incomplete passes. Plus, they had 17 drops last year that probably could have had him at 73% completion rate had they made those completions. These was balls that were drops that if they were catches, he probably would have been in a little bit better position in terms of his stats. But I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to throw for over 3,000 yards. He's going to probably rush for another 500 and probably have anywhere from 27 to 30 passing touchdowns and another 6 to 10 rushing touchdowns, which will really help him a whole lot. He has the weapons around him. I feel like Arch Manning has a chance to get there, but he's going to have to play some really tough games and some really tough environments. And if he can play and have that moxie like he had at the end of the season, I think he could be there in New York. I really like his chances of getting there. And I really feel like this too. He got so much pressure put on him last year that maybe there's some voters out there that feel like, listen, we did this guy this service this year. If he just plays well, we might do him a favor and have him as the favorite at the end because of how we treated him last year. Maybe that might not happen, but I'm hoping that it does because I would like to see that trophy come back to Texas at some point. That chat is so long, I can't scroll all the way down there and see everybody's comments, man. It's just way too many things in the chat. I'm sorry if I don't get to any of your comments. But let's go to Jeremiah Smith. Wide receiver out of Ohio State. I think we might all agree that this might be the best football player in college football, and he didn't win awards that we felt like he should have won the last 2 years. Will he take home the big prize of the Heisman Trophy? Let's start with you post game, then we'll go to T1, and then we'll finish with one take Zaya.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith is definitely the best player in college football. He definitely has a really good chance to win the Heisman and any other award that he's nominated for. I mean, what more can you say about Jeremiah Smith, man? He's a guy who's been dominating the wide receiver position since his freshman year. I think he can make all plays. He can catch the ball at or near the line of scrimmage, in the middle of the field, or deep. It takes a lot of pressure off your starting quarterback. The only situation where I see he doesn't rack up awards or is not invited is if Ohio State's running game with Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, I believe, is so dominant they don't really need to use him like they can or should. That's the only way. He's so good that Ohio State team is so good that they might not need to use him as much as he probably needs to be used to dominate statistically. But outside of that, I expect Jeremiah Smith to sweep all wide receiver awards and definitely be a Heisman candidate in New York.
Yeah, I'll go next, and then you can go after me, T1. I really like Jeremiah Smith. I feel like he's the best player in college football, and I think that they should make it a point to make sure that they get the ball to Jeremiah Smith as much as I feel like Miami should get the ball to Malachi Tony. I think there's a variety of ways you can get the ball to a guy like Jeremiah Smith. And he's not one of those players that's easy to tackle. He has the size. He's able to get yak yardage. You can get him on some of those short routes, let him stiff arm a dude, and then he's gone down the sideline or down the middle of the field. And I really feel like they should put him in position to get some one-on-ones, or maybe even if he gets double coverage, have him in a position where he can get over top of guys or at least have an opportunity to go for a 50-50 ball, which we know 9 times out of 10, that's a 90-10 or 80-20 ball in his favor. I really feel like Jeremiah Smith should get showcased in this Ohio State offense, and they should really make it a point to make sure that this guy takes home as many awards as possible. I know Ohio State isn't that kind of university. They don't think like that, but I would love to see them do that for Jeremiah Smith. What's your thoughts about Jeremiah Smith, T1?
Well, you hit the hammer right on the head. The emphasis this year will be to get Jeremiah Smith that ball. Not only is the coaching staff upset that the best wide receiver in college football for the past 2 years has been awarded nothing, but Jeremiah is just upset. If you know, he's made some posts and telling everybody to watch out. And Ohio State has made it known that we are going to feed Jeremiah Smith this ball this upcoming season. And I look for his numbers to be better than ever. He will have career highs in everything this year as long as he stays healthy. And they will force feed him that ball. And he's so big, they're going to be able to get that ball in his hands, whether it be quickly or, you know, with the decoys and all of that. But he's going to get the touches, but I'm not confident in the NCAA doing anything for Jeremiah Smith. I just watch him year after year get snubbed. And, you know, what more can he do? I mean, he did enough last year to win the Biletnikoff. So at this point, I mean, I'm quite sure he even has to be like, what more can I do to win this reward as the best wide receiver in the country when all the commentators has unanimously agreed that I've been the best wide receiver in college football. So with that, I don't know if I'm confident in him even winning it this year, and which is going to be his last year in college football, let alone a Heisman. But he'll be there in New York.
Take us out on that one,
Yeah,
what's your thought on Jeremiah Smith?
yeah, I'm gonna know a lot from week one, man. If they don't let the boy go out there and get a deuce 50, 2-3 touchdowns, they ain't serious, you know. Man, listen, we know he the best player in the country. You know, we know he unguardable for real. You got guarding with 3 guys, but man, it's about whether or not they trying to force feed him the ball, and then Julian saying you got to look for him every play. So we'll see though what happened, man. I think if Julian saying can just identify him on every passing play, if he just look his way every time, I don't care what the play is, look at him every time, he'll be all right. And he should be in New York, but we'll see, man. That's a Julian saying thing. It come down to Julian saying for real.
Let me ask you both, and even you as well, post game. What does Jeremiah Smith's stat line need to be in order for him to be in New York? We're going to start with you, post game.
I think if he even duplicates what he did last year, which is probably more than likely what he's going to do, I think he'll be there. I just do, man. I think this is just my opinion, but I think Ohio State is really going to emphasize running the ball this season with Arthur Smith as the OC. But I think there's going to be plenty on the plate, plenty meat on the bone for Jeremiah Smith to make the plays and stats to be in contention for these awards and win these awards.
What about you, one take?
1,500, 12 touchdowns. I think he need to average about a touchdown a game. 1,500 though. I think too though, if we do happen to go 12-0, 11-1, even if he don't got like 1,500, let's say he got like 13, he'll be there because we went undefeated because he one of the main reasons why.
What's his stat line need to look like for you, T1, in order to make it to the Heisman?
About 1,500, about 15 touchdowns. Yeah, about 1,500, 15 touchdowns. I could see him getting about 16, 17 though. Like I said, we're gonna feed him.
Stay healthy. We're gonna feed him like we need him.
Yeah, how many wide receivers? Somebody got echo. Let me see. Okay. How many wide receivers have we know Tim Brown has won it. Desmond Howard won it. Devontae Smith has won it. Is there any wide receivers that I'm missing? Because they don't win it too often. Any other ones I'm missing?
I mean, Travis Hunter, but he was a hybrid. He played both. So
yeah. Well, not too often. Not too often do wide receivers win it, Liam. So this might be the year, though. This might be the year. Let's go to our last player. We got Dante Moore, the quarterback out of Oregon. How do you feel about him, T1, and his chances of making it to New York?
He has a great chance. You know, those Oregon quarterbacks, they're known for putting up numbers. So he has a great chance of making it to New York. And just as I said, and as the college football analyst has been saying all this whole offseason, this quarterback room is deep. It could be all quarterbacks. Jeremiah could not be there. A running back could not be there just because you have all these quarterbacks. And if they all throw up dynamic numbers, that wide receiver's going to get pushed out of there. That running back's going to get pushed out of there if you just have four quarterbacks with dynamic numbers. You know what I mean? So he definitely could be in New York next year.
What about you, One Take?
Yeah, yep. I mean, T1 said it, you know. It really it's so many good players out here in the country this year. The race is kind of really probably gonna come down to whose team is performing well, you know. That's probably really what we're looking at. And what do these defenses got to say about some of these guys? You know, I don't think we really, you know, we didn't see what I don't think we had a 4,000 yard passer in college football last year. We might have one. You
No,
know,
those numbers really was really low. I want to say that Mendoza had probably the lowest passing yardage as a Heisman quarterback that I've seen in a long time.
yeah. What did he have? 3,500 or something?
Something like that. 35, 32 or something. Whatever it was, Julian was right there. So it
Yeah.
wasn't that good. I know that much.
Yeah, I think really it's gonna come down to team production for real with a lot of these dudes. And Oregon, they got to see us. So you might be on the short end of the stick from Julian saying to Jeremiah Smith there, boy.
What's your thoughts on Dante Moore out of Oregon post game?
yeah, really solid dude, man. I like Dante Moore. I think the fact that he gets some receivers healthy this year, Corey and Moore, Evan Stewart, I think that only bodes well for his Heisman candidacy. And although they lost an elite tight end to the NFL draft, I think that tight end room is loaded. The offensive line is going to be good. Running game is going to be good. I think Dante Moore is in really good position to have the type of season that he needs for the Heisman Trophy. Of course, he has a heck of a schedule this year with uh, uh, Ohio State, Michigan, and teams like that in the Big Ten. But I definitely think he has a great chance to get the job done and be in New York for the Heisman Trophy. What's up, Beef Eater?
Yeah, I really like Dante Moore too. I think he's got an opportunity to really put up some serious numbers. He gets the Corian Moore and Evan Stewart back. If those guys can stay healthy, and when those guys were coming out of high school, they were considered number one and number two wide receivers in their respective classes. When they came out, Corian Moore was the number one wide receiver, I believe it was, and I think Evan Stewart might have been number two. So he get both of those guys back. He has an opportunity to really showcase his talent to get some really good teams. I think he plays both of the West Coast teams in USC and Washington. He also plays Ohio State. So he's going to have opportunities to have Heisman moments. What he does with it is going to depend on him and that team. I really like Dante Moore, and I think he has a chance of being there as well. Out of all of these players that we talked about, do you feel like players who have another talented player on this team, because on our list, we had 3 teams that have 2 players that are on our list. Do you think that really affects their Heisman Trophy chances when they're going up against another player from their team for the right to make it to New York? We'll start with you, post game. What's your thought on that one?
100%. Because it's like when you got 2 guys from the same team, they kind of cancel each other out. They take votes from each other, especially when you got 2 elite candidates for the Heisman Trophy. So I absolutely 100% agree with that, Rob.
What's your thoughts, One Take?
Yeah, I've been saying it all show, kind of, sort of. You know, when you fighting another potential Heisman candidate, you know, you get certain voters be like, oh, maybe the quarterback is more the reason, maybe the running back was more the reason, or maybe the wide receiver is more the reason. So you kind of splitting votes. It's not like, you know, all the votes is going to one place. So now you're spreading them out. So definitely, that's the case every year, though. It hurt people every year in the Heisman voting.
What's your thoughts on that question, T1?
Yeah, and I mean we had Julian and Jeremiah last year, correct? You know, and maybe that's what helped Mendoza get that Heisman. Because still, once again, they talked about Jeremiah last year as being the best player in college football, possibly going #1 overall if he was able to come out last year. So it definitely hurts, but as you can see from last year, it doesn't hurt with getting them there. So you could possibly get there, and you know maybe when they get there, maybe those 2 players, the fans of those 2 players, maybe everybody gets together and say, hey, we'd like to see Jeremiah get this baby. So we're gonna put Saying down there at #3. You know, but we're gonna definitely slot Jeremiah in at that #1 spot, and you got understand. I believe that's how they do it. They rank them 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you get, you know, a certain amount of first place votes, certain amount of second place votes, and so forth and so on. But it's the amount of first place votes that you get. So even though you have 2 players making it to New York, that one player still can get enough first place votes to get it. So I'm not sure that it hurts as much as we seen, you know, 2 Buckeyes there in New York last year.
Yeah, I think it has an effect as well. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. All of our channels, even though we come on here as WTP Sports Dudes, all of us have our own individual channels. They're scrolling across the bottom. We would love for you to support every last one of our channels. You can go to @WTP for Life, Level Up Sports 10, Parlay Poe, the Blitzburg Podcast, at Post Game, City League TV, One Take Zaya, SEC Sean. Go to all of our channels and please subscribe. We're trying to grow our channels. We're trying to grow this channel, and we want to for you to continue to support us. Hit the like button, hit that thumbs up, so that we know you did attend this the video, and we would love for you to continue to support us. We'll be back again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Our man One Take Zay will be hosting tomorrow's podcast. Please tune in at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We appreciate you. Everybody, you got anything else you want to add before we go? We're going to start with you, post game.
Yes, sir. Make sure y'all don't blow off any of those digits because we're going to need y'all to type in those channels.
What about you, T1? Anything else? All right, One Take Zay. Anything else?
Hey, appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. My fault. My mute button is sticking. I think I gotta change my screen on here. But hey, we appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the comments. I guess we got so many we couldn't get to all of them. So keep them coming. As we continue to grow, we're going to continue to work and make sure that we can be able to get each and every one of your comments. So please keep the comments coming. Please keep showing the love. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I got 2 things. Hey, the first thing is I wanted to tap in and tell while we were talking about Dante Moore. They said that boy Dylan Raiola lost his job to the freshman as the backup quarterback. I just want to throw that out there. I don't know how valid that is. I just want to throw that out there. And two, Darian Peterson, the number 2 pick, and Cam Boozer, the number 3 pick, will be on Summer League Live 3 and 5 p.m. on Prime Video, ESPNU. I can't wait to check these brothers out, see what they got.
Yeah, we appreciate you all for tuning in. And listen, KT said he's 2-0 against the panel. And he ain't talking about Texas. He's talking about Notre Dame and Ohio State. His Miami Hurricanes beat both of those teams last year. He said he's 2-0 against the panel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your 4th of July holiday. Go out there and enjoy some time with your family. Stay hydrated, especially if you're in Columbus, Ohio, where it's blazing saddles right now. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see y'all tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Make sure you hit that notification bell so anytime we go live on any of these channels, you will be able to get that notification so you can tune in and watch with us or be with us on screen. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, and we catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.